everyone, it's Joy here for Crafty Meraki, and today I'm going to create a clean and simple card using some stamps that were already in my stash. So here's the Orchid Opulence. I had used this for a different project and I had some stamped images already left over. So I'm going to use those because I think it's great to save them when you don't need it. And I think the cool thing about this stamp set is that you're going to stamp everything at one time. So if you're going to have multiple projects and you're not going to use all of those images on one card, you have those already stamped and die cut for you. So I just think it's great to make sure you save those. Just pop them in your stamp set and they are ready for your next project. I'm using some Copic markers. You can see the caps there. I'm just using some pretty purples for this. And like I mentioned, I wanted to create a clean and simple card. I do really like that when it comes to florals, especially because I feel like they really pop off the background when they're really colorful and then your background is just very minimal. We are going to add a little something to our background. A lot of times I do like to use some 3D embossing folders to give texture, but I'll leave it white. But this time we're going to use a little bit of Distress Oxide ink and some low tack tape, and I will show you when we get there. But let's just get these guys colored. Really super simple, just three different colors, like a light or a medium and dark, this kind of, soft purple, and then we'll bring in a little bit of a lilac color, keeping it really easy. The coloring is easy. I'm coming back in with that darker just to give some shadow at the base of those petals. I will obviously use a little bit of green for the stems. We've got all those cute little buds. I just think this is a really beautiful stamp set. And I love how the flowers look. I love that they're just kind of connected in a way. And we're going to connect these other three to that main big piece. And I am making a mini slim card. So that measures 3.5 by 6.5. So I will come in with a little bit of yellow as well to add to the centers of the flowers. I just want to finish getting a lighter color on those buds, and then we've got our centers, and then of course green, like I mentioned, for the stems. This is so much easier that it's just already stamped and die cut. These were stamped with black ink when I created a different project. You could also do this with an embossing powder. You can emboss your images and then color. If you do, though, be careful with your Copic markers that you're not coloring over the embossed stuff because it can ruin the tip of your markers. Okay, so here is my mini slim card base. This is 6.25 by 3.25, and we're just going to create some really simple stripes on this background. So I've got my tape. I'm using the grid on my background to help me line up. I'm going to start with a really thin line. I will use milled lavender Distress Oxide ink and just a blender brush and ink on this that little open area. This is going to be on the left side of my card once we have it put together. I want to do another line. I actually laid that out wrong. I laid it right over the edge of my other stripe and I thought that's not going to work well, so I moved that and slide it forward. So this one will be a little bit bigger. I'm going to move it down just a little bit. I really want to make sure it's lined up on my desk so I have straight lines and not wonky lines. And then I'm going to blend that one more time. I didn't know if I wanted to start with 2 or 3 lines, so I'm starting with the 2. I do come back in and add a third line. But you see, it just adds this nice little something, but it needs a third one. So I'm going to tape that in place on my work surface so it won't slide around. And I'm going to ink blend this next one quite a bit further away from the other 2. But I'm going to make it about the same size as the first line. So again, just a really quick, easy ink blend. And our background is finished. Let's add some foam adhesive behind our flowers. I did want to make sure that when I added these stripes that my flowers weren't going to cover the whole thing. I wanted it obviously to overlap. And so I made sure that the flowers did that. I laid that out a little bit beforehand and I did that off camera. So just so I could have an idea of where I wanted those stripes to go. just some foam adhesive behind all of my flowers because I do love dimension. And then we can start putting these guys in place. And my sentiment is also from that Orchid Opulence because that stamps and die cuts everything at one time. So I'm just going to use a sentiment from that. I'm going to lay that separate large flower over the end of that stem and then tuck these other two little buds in here. I love the layout of this. I think it's so pretty. Let's add some foam adhesive behind our Hugs sentiment. And then I do want to finish off with just a little bit of the Gold Illusion gems here. And I'm using some really tiny ones. Again, I want this to be clean and simple. And if you don't want the gems, you could leave it off. And I think it still looks just as beautiful. But I did want to add just a little something extra. But you can really see how those flowers pop off the background. And this was just really kind of a quick and easy card to make. I put it on my card base, which is 6.5 by 3.5, and it just turned out so lovely. Thank you so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you feel inspired by this project, and I hope you guys have a great day.